living under a rock. No offense, but also if you don't know, you should. Let me give you a little background as well. Darian Darling is a celebrity stylist, makeup artist, all of the things. But first and foremost to me is the reason why Darian Darling is Darian Darling had one of the first gem websites on the internet, and that was comprehensive of a catalog and uh, a library and basically an archive of the show. And it was called, if you, those of you who remember who are of a Zennial Gen X, it was called Gen Girls. Do you remember that? For all the crazy. So now you need that one. No, who Darren Brown is. And it was also Darren Brown went under the soap name Chicklets. And we'll get to why that was because I have a review on that as well. Yes.
I followed it online from afar, virtually.
Perfect. Well, we are so excited to have you. So the first question I want to ask you is, how did you first discover Gemini holograms and what drew you to the toy line?
Yes. I mean, Jem has been with me almost as long as I can remember. I must have seen it sometime in 1985 because I distinctly remember watching it on Super Sunday and was annoyed that I had to suffer through this robot show. I don't know what my first episode I ever saw was. I don't remember if a friend told me to watch it or if I just discovered it on TV. I don't know. It's like it instantly alters my brain. And I'm just like totally transfixed on what this show was. And immediately obsessed. And I just carried it. I
Awesome. And same, I remember when I was watching the Super 7, they didn't air them in chronological orders. They were asynchronous.
oh
You know, so like storylines were all mixed up a little bit, depending on like when you caught. And you know, the show ended. So like, you know, as an adult, I'm like, oh, that was the final episode. I mean, I knew it ended, but I didn't know the finale was the finale. So exactly. So perfect. So tell me about or tell us, you know, what are some of your favorite storylines or episodes?
I love the first five, the five parter. I think it's just such like I mean, hit it right out of the park. It's so solid. It just really sets the whole stage for where to go. And Christy set it up so brilliantly. There were so many places, plots that you could go with that. But I think those first five are really solid. I love Broadway Mountain.
Mm.
It's been 16 years. I always dreamed about this really glamorous New York existence. And, you know, Jen goes to New York. And I remember the first time I ever went to New York, I was 11 years old. And we climbed Crown Statue of Liberty. I was so excited. So I was like, I'm gonna get to see the room that is at so Jen does.
Based on the Alamo. Do you remember your first Gemini?
Yes, I remember distinctly going to the toy store because obviously Super Sunday came up first, and then they started airing commercials for the dolls. God, commercials are so amazing, and they're so glitzy and neon, color, glamour, and it's like I need a gem doll. And I loved Gem, and Jem is definitely my favorite character, and so that was the first doll I remember distinctly going to the toy store, and they were quite expensive at the time. So you know, my we had to wait till my dad got paid to go get one, and I remember standing in front of the aisle and seeing all that, you know, Sharon artwork was so just bold and it really stuck with me as well. Saying that was interesting. I also had Acha, Glittering Gold Gem, Synergy
Okay.
as a
Yeah.
kid.
Right. Yeah. And then when we made our own money, we're like, all right, I'm not. So that makes sense. So growing up, you know, and you know, it being kind of in your sphere and in your universe, how did that shape you as a person and how was Jem as an influence on your personal style, which is fabulous.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Gem really the aesthetics my whole style is Jared Benton is like my style. So I think all my outfits are kind of referencing Jem in some way. It influences my creative work. Um, it's yeah, it's just totally stuck with me and it's so inspiring. Makeup and glamour, it's so bold and so in your face. And I love the 80s and I love Jem was kind of referencing what's happening in the time in fashion and music and culture in the 80s. There's so many real life rock stars that, Hasbro's referencing and fashion. Like this outfit is based on an outfit that Jem wore on the show, of course, but it's based on a Claude Montana design. It's a really famous fashion designer in the 80s. It was big and shoulder pads and bold color and glamour. And his outfit was black and white, and then Sunbow just made it gem colors, which they did quite a lot to, um, referencing fashion.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it means how that influenced that.
And I actually met Claude Montana once in Paris, which was like, so random. I got a photo. Yeah, it's great.
So that's yeah, sure. I'm gonna segue into something that's very cool. Just one other point the website. And I'm gonna try to on Zoom as well. So in the night, as I said before, in the 90s, I hate that we can say that. Gosh. You created one of the first Gem and the Holograms websites. That was on the web. So just to give a little bit of reference for those of you who kind of know what the internet is now. So those people are like Gen Z and late millennials. It's a fun time. Um, just a little bit after there's only two social media things you can get were AOL and Prodigy. And AOL won out. Prodigy let down. And you can then get on and you could get on this thing called the World Wide Web. It's just amazing. So after that kind of was born, then people then could then develop our own websites using like HTML and like very basic web internet language. And that then morphed into new public websites like GeoCities and Legos. I know you like about Legos, but yeah. So that said, we're just about 10 to 12 years outside of work, just long enough. And this was the sweet spot, just to have the merchandise be available out in the general public, like you'll find them at yard sales. The kids who have them have grown up already in college. Parents are, getting rid of like old stuff. So it's sort of pretty good, like good condition. And had an amazing catalog of that. And I'm gonna put on the Zoom in a second so that we can see it. But and the website, as you said, Gem Girls with two R's. And it really cataloged all this. How inspired you to do that? That was a long one.
Like I always remember Jem and loved Jem and a family friend of ours was a computer science professor at San Francisco University and was like, you think the internet that you have to get and good for Darian to do keep schoolwork, research anything, find anything. And so we got the internet in 1996, which is extremely early. And there's three things I searched for. I was really big at Sailor Moon at the time, the computer, which go figure, was the same animation studio that animated Jack. So I searched, and I can't even say Google, Google, searched Sailor Moon, Wonder Woman, and Jack. And searching Jack, two websites came up. Truly Outrageous mailing list, which was a monthly or weekly email list fans to kind of connect, but it's all text based. And then there's a website called just called Pam Green's Gem Science, right? Which was all about just the dolls. It was her collection of the dolls. I was like, oh my god, like there's fans that remember this and collecting dolls, and oh my god, and I had like a kind of minimal collection of reproduction 50s Barbies that were out in the 90s and it's like wonderful and stuff. It's like, ooh, I love Gem. So got sort of involved in, fan community that way. And when started, I'm gonna collect Gem. And so for my 17th birthday, I was like, Mom and Dad, I need to buy Gem dolls again.
Like,
So it was before eBay or anything, so I kind of found these like Usenet groups. Does anyone remember like Usenet groups? Which were like sort of like really, really internet bulletin boards. So there was like a dog collecting using for that I posted for $10 and this lovely woman responded. She I think was probably in her 60s. She was like a Barbie collector and Jen turned her pussy out.
Yeah.
She literally bought her everything. Bought it and put it and kept it there for, I guess, 86, 87. This was 97. So it stayed in a box for 10 years. Everything was pristine. Everything was absolutely perfect. And she had the fan club package. She had the fucking llama. Like, she's like, stuff. And, she's sitting in the closet. So I don't really want it. And I was like, yeah. And she let me do a layaway. They got all the dolls, I think, for $25 each in the box. And then we became kind of pen pals, and she asked about her life and her doing school and this and that. So she just started sending me things as a surprise, as a gift. All mentions, minimum card, the fan club packet, the paper dolls, the golden books, I mean, puzzles and everything. So I suddenly amassed this entire collection, maybe $300. Which was always telling me, I don't know, did you say like it's of burning nuts in a past life? It's been charmed existence my whole life. And I just exist. I don't plan anything. Things just happen. So I suddenly had this like huge junk collection. And then one day Pam Green's website vanished and it left this huge void in the gem internet community, which obviously is quite small. And so I was like, oh well, all this stuff, I guess I should do it. And I begged, I was like, okay, mom, dad, I need a scanner because I knew I wanted there was no images generally on the internet. There was a website that came called Hollywood Gem by this guy Grant Hoops.
So originally, yeah, correct movie. So first of all, Leslie Eisman gives her love to everybody. She wishes she could be here. She ran the truly only just Milling Digest.
Yeah.
Her father's not feeling well, so she couldn't make it this year. So, but and Grant, great books for public city Parks and Rec.
Okay.
But that's he's closing it down.
Well, it was great. So he had some it had images of Jam the cartoon, which was kind of the only images that you could see at the time. Let's think about it before the DVDs, before anything. Really hard to get images from a VHS tape onto the internet. I knew I loved Sharon's artwork for all the promotional box art. So I knew I really wanted to have the visuals on my website like that. And I really wanted it to be very bold and graphic and glamorous. So I started scanning all the box artwork. I was the first person to ever put the box art on the internet. So that I created when you would go on the website, you would click and it would come kind of like this table. And on one side, it was all like the eyes. So you would click on Jem's eye, Oculus or wherever, and then it would bring up a page where it had images of the dolls. And I was very descriptive about makeup and fabrics, the clothes and the glamour. And it was kind of really, really fun.
Yeah, and it was very fun.
The images that I used on each doll page was like the box art from the doll and then superimposed over kind of like the show of the holograms or Gem Jarrett, whatever, which sort of for the next decade I think appeared on eBay and people put them on posters, kinds of shit, which And but
That's great. Well, and thank you for your hard work on that. So did you ever think when you were creating this that it would resonate this much with the Gem family?
I mean, I was now, really, I mean, I'm so happy that like people that were around, I still remember it, because they did it in 97, and then by 99, I had most of the stuff anyways, was buying more stuff. So I just sort of stopped updating 99. So I have, I mean, millions and millions of hits. I think my like search SEO was really great. So it was the first thing that came up in search gem at that time.
Right?
Um,
We like ask for cheese.
as G. So for a little bit, we'll still sort of remember it. And, now of course there's like Brian's website. It's just like, amazing. It's such a great next evolution.
Absolutely.
Way more like minutia than I ever did.
Well, we again, if it weren't for your site and Grant's site and Cam's site and Leslie, there wouldn't be the sites that are today. I think really those were the brand new green. I mean, you're green, so for sure, right? So yeah, I mean, we've done absolutely. And that's exactly the wonderful thing about going back and seeing. And for those of you like some learnings, that's the cover for it. And just so it's like great. So you used to come from Chick-fil-A
Yeah.
and but do you I mean you tell us about it. And so can you tell everyone about your talking
So in around the same time that I was creating the Gem Girls site, I went to a high school for kids that didn't fit in. So it was all like punk kids and goth kids and queer kids and kids that would get bullied in a normal high school environment. It was in this really small sort of hippie punk Bay Area freak school, which was amazing. So our drama production that year was Second Beach Party, which was by Charles Bush, who's a very famous drag performer in New York and a playwright, and put on all these like really zany camp off Broadway productions. And Second Beach Party was kind of a spoof of Gidget and like the Annette Funicello Beach Party movies mixed with like Mommy Dearest and the Three Faces of Eve show. It's like Gidget goes psychotic where she has multiple personalities and thinks she's a dominatrix. And so I played the lead as Chicklet and the internet at that time, it was all about anonymity.
Yes.
Now
Handle.
it's the exact opposite. We want everyone to know who you are and what you're doing and who you're eating. In the 90s, it was very much the screen name and having like
Yeah, for your handle.
I did. So Chicklets my hand.
That's true. And I've seen there's a movie it's fine, Born Animals, 1600. That's amazing. So check it out. But I just wanted to just so that make that like connect some dots. It's yeah, I remember checking its website, and that's here we are. The next question I have for you is when did Jen Online discontinue? You said you stopped updating the website around 99 anyway, but because you already had things. But in the 80s when it was discontinued, um, did that influence your connection to the series at all?
I mean, I was sort of sad that it just disappeared, but I think because it was on Super Sunday, and then I think it went to Sundays, and I remember specifically that my parents were very liberal, but also very Catholic. My dad was a deacon in the church, and the church was across the street from your house. And I was very annoyed that I had to go and miss Gem. That was such a stink that they finally said, watch Gem from 9 a.m. to 9:30, and then waddle your ass over to church and you chill out. But I think in my area, I don't remember ever seeing anything the season three stingers. I didn't know they even existed until I started being on the Gem fandom community in the 90s. So I missed all of them. I don't know why or how. I don't think because they stopped showing it at my time or it just disappeared.
I heard so many stories about that. People are like, what? Stamps. Yeah, that's missed. They missed the end. But that is a no. strangely not, or sorry, a very uncommon, not too uncommon story. People just kind of missed it altogether. Yeah, yeah. Um, this is I crowd this carefully because this is the point. So we're going. Um, so as an Alan, and in your life cycle of dedicating a lot of art and your passion to gem and holograms, in 2015, a certain movie came out by Wolfline. It really wonderful work.
He did.
And
Dawn.
Thanks for listening to us. So, and your experience with live house in general.
Well, wasn't in for me, but I kind of knew that from the very start because one of my best friends who I lived with in Los Angeles was Justin Tranter, who is one of the most prolific pop songwriters of the last decade. He's written, I mean, if you listen to the radio, pretty much anything in the last decade he has written. And so this was 2014 that they announced
Yeah.
so I know he had been writing wrote Justin Bieber's Sorry. And so he sort of runs one of the producers and jobs. So I was like, that's the, we're doing all this and we're gonna do all this like fan sourcing and everything. And I text Justin immediately. I was like, oh my god, you need to write all songs for Jen. And so I said, oh, the scoop. So I hit him up and he's like, oh, this song I've written or whatever, but here's the treatment of the story beats of like what the songs would need to be about or whatever. And even reading that, I was like, I don't know, this is gonna go the way I would personally to go. Of course, I don't say anything, but and I'm an artist and work in the creative space, and I know no one set out to make art,
Right.
I just think there's a lot of things working against them. Budget is not big.
No.
There's a lot of strange choices made.
Yeah.
But I think of like, okay, Jen discovered on YouTube, whatever, who cares. I thought the Broadway, the girls was really lovely. I'm like, if at least Victoria would have been, but it's just like, Blumhouse, they make more, but it's like,
About $2.
I mean, I know from working in industry, $5 million.
No, it doesn't. Right.
Then Gem is like, $200 million. To do it.
On an idea as based on technology,
So, I mean,
we got to know about it. Right?
yeah, yeah, but it's not.
Okay, fair enough. Absolutely. We'll touch on that a little bit, in Kristen's panel as well. I also have to ask that. So she has a very similar answer. I think most of us in the panel kind of accepted that. Yes, we wanted, we went in, rooting for it. Like, hey, choices. So there we go. Exactly. So that said, are there any surprising moments in your journey with Gem as a fan that you still remember fondly?
I mean, being here with all you lovely people.
Touch on some of the things, how Gem has inspired you, to the new creative space, your fashion, your style identity. Would you say that those themes as identity and empowerment, how do those themes resonate with people today? That's speculative, like general.
Well, Gem is sort of and kind of influences my identity in a way that, I mean, I think for like queer people or trans people, the idea of superhero or someone that has kind of like a secret identity is very powerful to us growing up as children, and kind of it's like the idea of like having to keep a part of yourself hidden or private from the people that are closest to you, and that's why I think, Gem or Wonder Woman, She-Ra, and watching that Sailor Moon, watching that kind of a transformation and becoming someone unique, turning into someone who's bold and being able to like show your true self to the world, but also having hide at the same time.
Yes.
I think is really powerful. I think that's why that kind of content resonates with queer kids growing up.
Absolutely. And that trope especially, really just, um, not only builds, it really kind of builds those, tools of building blocks. And kind of, use those things and in a way where we can look back as a positive influence of like, right, that taught me to be strong and not taught me to be hard.
Yeah.
So absolutely. So have you connected with other creatives in your space whose influence of that gem was kind of like their baseline? Are you the lone
And Jim is my Roman Empire, so I think how place a time of day.
wolf?
Much to my friend's chagrin. I mean, I have friends that, grew up with Jim. I mean, even Justin, who I lived with, has a record labels and Warner Records, records and writes pop songs for all these people, but also, we're the same age, 44, and both grew up watching Jam. So I think all my makeup artist friends love Jam, hairstylists, anyone working in fashion loves Jam. I mean, it's such a graphic, bold fashion, hair, makeup, glamour, like anyone working in that kind of space that is of age to remember Joe. I think it's always like a huge reference point.
Absolutely. So it's a good segue. So that being said, as we know, there was a revival in the toy line. So then we went through vintage Hasbro line, as we call it now. And then we had the lull, when there was no production. But then Integrity Toys came out with the line of Gem Dolls. So how did that, when that first came out, what was your impression?
Sex.
So, right?
I mean, obviously, I worship the Hasbro dolls, and they just hit me in a nostalgic place that's like so deep. But the Integrity dolls were so inspired by the box art, which I'm just sharing our work. It's like that made Gem feel so real, was because it did look like real people, and that her art was so energetic and bold and glitzy and really sold the this could be a real person. So I just loved the look. I love the fabric choices. I loved that they were doing like deep cuts and stuff that was never made to begin with. Um, so I did buy one of every character. I tried not to get, I I couldn't get deep into the doubles, triples characters and like boyfriends and shit. Like I got Rio, of course, Eric Raymond and Tekra and stuff like that, the Countess, and
Yeah.
all the main girls, of course, one each. But I couldn't get into them. I didn't need every single thing. I lived in New York City. Who has
Right, that's big. Yeah, I had to put a moratorium on my collection too, because I literally make up spaces. And so those are that's my collection next door. So check it out. Curious.
Is anyone else's just like completely disintegrating in front of their very eyes?
Yeah.
Like
Literally.
all the fabric is flaking off. I'm like, you get the Hasbro ones that are like 40 years old, or just like
It's like
keep on changing, stay good to it. It's like turning yellow.
yeah,
It's not like I smell smoke. It's like
yeah, it is.
also the first gem and her hair is like turning way peachy.
Yes. And if you notice my collection too, and this is just my snobbery, I'm not accept this is for well and sophisticated lady Jeff as the only versions because that's the way.
They did get, I will say that the gems as that line for us got there.
Yeah.
I think they look prettier and like the makeup is like slightly softer in a way, like the screenings were a little different, like the shades of pink. Maybe
Yes, and the skulls, yeah.
more subtle, which I think I prefer than the classic gem, but.
You know, I know this. Yeah, I have very particular, same thing with Zaza. Take, I am giant Zazas, it's only with the day glow. Here, like there is no,
Yeah.
have like so. I'll just buy those and then just them and then I'll find someone who's selling those things. So that's all crazy. I got that. So yeah. So once that happened, and then obviously we're now approaching the 40th anniversary.
Yeah.
So next year, the 40.
So crazy.
It is crazy. That we're getting a new line coming out.
Yeah.
We're about
It's on the prototype photos. I mean, I'm glad that it's happening. She looks like a small one.
everyone says, and I don't have choice here or not, but
I mean, it's small. It looks,
they look the size of like a Shira. It looks like, but
give them pass on the big scope to
yeah.
that. To me, if it's small, like, okay, that's great. If it's a big thing and looks like that, not so sure.
But
It looks great, but also it comes with a Jericho outfit, but there's no like blonde head or blonde hair. So
Right.
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, I think they're the really early stages.
that's probably the thing on
So we'll see. Because
duality.
one of the things that integrity, obviously, we're like, here, take my money, but then it's like, all right, well, for this week. But then the thing about it, hopefully it'll be accessible. That was one thing that I think that integrity, it just wasn't had to either save for it or we had to have, no matter what. So I hope that more people in the fandom can actually, have it where it's accessible. You're not just, handing over like two buttons, so that's one. Okay, so I'm gonna just go to some of the themes of Gem and just the as we talk about the themes of identity and empowerment, especially kind of creating like safe spaces for us growing up. But what someone who wanted to dive into the world which didn't get to experience the first run, which tell them to start off right, start with the beginning. How would you tell someone how to explain Gem to somebody? That's a listener.
God, I explain happening. So there's so much happening.
Right.
Like, I mean, I have a makeup assistant that's very cute and was born in 2002. So on her job that hadn't seen a movie made before 2000.
Oh,
So
cute.
I was like, well, if you work with me, you need to know all your references. And so showing him really important movies that have to do with hair, makeup, fashion, glamour, just important queer culture movies to watch. And so we're gonna search it.
Awesome.
It's so inspiring. So it's for anyone working in the fashion or beauty space. It's like,
It was so there was such a vanguard of like having that new wave aspect of the 80s. And not necessarily punk. I really would think it'd be more new wave. So almost synth
more punk,
yes.
that's kind of like Blitz Kids New Romantic.
Sure.
Then the holograms were more like,
Sure.
well, the sound that they wanted, I think, was kind of like the Bangles meets the Go-Go's. Britta's voice is very similar to Susanna Hoffs or Belinda Clutch. And then the Misfits were more like, Susie Soons, like Nina Hagen.
Yes.
Visuals of Jen, versus Dale Bozio, Missing Person.
Okay, that makes sense.
So it's like,
Yeah, that's big.
walking in the lake, she had the pink and blonde hair, were pink and,
Yep. And it'd be hard pressed to find anyone who watched them the first run and is of a Gen X Zennial who aren't fans of those groups. It's hard pressed to find any, like I don't like the Go-Go's. It's
yeah.
yes. Yes.
Written by the red stripe on tape, which carries over to the Misfits, like there's so many like references that are happening from actual culture into the show.
Right.
Yeah.
So 10 minutes out, so I think it's time to say absolutely.
But talk through So this is my little gem site, so I can scan our literally, I knew I wanted an all black background, so I literally like pixel by pixel and colored around the scan in black and filled it all in with paint. And then you click on the little bars to go to the next slides. And then we'll get to the, you can see all the eye makeup, so we'll click and then bring up and have a description of glamour and what they were wearing and makeup design and I said things like frosted mulberry lipstick. No wonder that I would become a question. Click again. I hand digitally color these in. But the gem Bible that Christy was selling on the mailing list at the time. So I click again. More, I love the Tom Tierney artwork from the Golden Books, which is so amazing. So I really knew my website. I wanted to incorporate all that amazing artwork. So artists just doing love. But again, I hand painted that Hollywood gem, which was from a book of a dog like a book at the time that had like a chapter about gem, but it was black and white, so it's taking color and website. So so that's me in high school when I made the website. And on the right, you can see it's my senior year yearbook page where I threw my name in, like very gem, font with the star, and then at the bottom, I usually say, visit me online at Gem Girls. And that was in January meeting, same time that I was doing the website at school. But okay, that's a sort of t-shirts and dress and that kind of very Countess de Boisson dress that I bought since 1 year. And then on the very end, when I was in my friend Justin's entourage, who I live with now, big glam punk band called Sweet Vicious Weapons in the Millie Space in these sleeves era. They were really moving forward at the time. So I was in this like crazy rock band entourage doing his makeup. So like I need to look at the rocks. So this was me in paper magazine, writing a blog at the time about being blonde and fabulous. They really gave it's for Instagram or anything, but I gave really good tweet. And so I also did a kind of story on fabulous, fashionable, so New Yorkers that were like social networks. They call them or influence. So that was me, and I gave this full gem. It's like hair metal vixen. I love the crazy mullet. I did write a song about
Oh, absolutely.
it's me at the 2013 Interview Magazine and Hasbro Gem movie. I was kind of promoting the movie where I met Samantha the first time. It's really cute. And the photo booth that was inside of Starlight House Man. Really cute. Thanks my friend David who did a Rio walk and I'm getting like a full sequence gem in the city. Going. Small. Oh, so I was a pro artist for MAC in the 2000s in New York City. And so I designed it, they would have these looks, seasonal collections would come out and on the website and then every counter around the globe. And then also employees had to wear the looks at the counter.
Oh.
And so the one on the left is for a collection that came out in 2005, I want to say, that was kind of like glam rock star inspired. So of course I had to do a gem look. It was fun going. So some of my makeup work. This was inspired, well, obviously it's very gem promoted as well. It's inspired by a really famous, prolific 80s airbrush illustrator called Sid Brown, who I think Gem was very influenced by his artwork because he worked for a poster company called Athena in the early 80s, and they wanted to do posters for a teenage market that would appeal to them. And he's like, well, punk is really big right now. It's kind of like gritty and dirty. So I want to do like punk, but if it was like seen through the eyes of like an Italian fashion designer. So he did these like really like candy colored new wave girls. You can have seen him at a blush and all kinds of crazy colored hair. So really kind of like edgy punk bitches black leather, and go crazy in there. So some of it, and more than
Oh, it's a big storm.
yeah, very summer coated, but that's actually there. One of the posters he did is like three rocker girls. That it looks like the Misfits. It's like predates the Misfits. So I think it was definitely a reference for Astro. They all these posters are on like every cross country. And even Julia Roberts, Hollywood Wicker apartment in Woman, there's a Sid Brad poster in their apartment. That's keep going. More glamorous. The girl on the right is Caroline Kingsbury, who's a really cool, queer, up and coming pop singer. And she loves the 80s. It's very so if you like jazz or the 80s or anything, she's very
It's Roxy.
and yeah, give her a Roxy eye. That was for her single Cherry Bubble.
It's amazing.
Keep going. So this is Justin, my best friend. And he co-wrote or was the executive music producer on a Grease prequel series for Paramount Plus called Rise of the Pink Lady.
Yes.
And wrote it was every episode had at least like three original songs, which first time in live action she wasn't ever done that. Like there's Glee, but that was all the songs already used. So this is the first TV show of its kind that had original songs in a musical form. And so wrote this really insane song for the teen angel. So one of the pink ladies wants to be a fashion designer and run away and move to New York. And the teen angel appears to her much like Frankie Avalon, the original. But the teen angel was always kind of didn't look like he was supposed to be from the 50s. Like even when Billy Porter played the on Broadway, that looked so like LaBelle.
Yes.
Age glamour. So like let's just have fun with it and do kind of like a Ziggy Stardust, Bowie, Life on Mars thing, but also I had with like a gem plan. Um, fun. I got to fly to Vancouver and they were like, why are we gonna bring an outside makeup artist in for this? Yeah.
Wait.
So Justin has a record label in Grand Classic Records with Warner Records. And this was a video that I created, directed, and did the makeup for one of his artists called Edie, YDE. She was on a Nickelodeon show called School of Rock. So this was like her first single and kind of like debut as a solo artist. And she's like kind of a musical virtuoso, like really can play like any instrument. And we started kind of talking about what we wanted to do, and then COVID hit. So we had to come up with a concept for a music video that we could shoot in COVID that is going to be, distanced. So I was like, she can play every instrument. Why don't we just make her full all grown up?
Wow.
And so it's kind of very jam coded, but also with Ladies and Gentlemen Fabulous Stains, which was a movie, girl punk band that wore a lot of black and red. So you can see I specifically wanted all instruments to be jam instruments. Go to the next slide. Like guitars, the cynic drums. Keep going. This was for her second video. I knew that I wanted her to be on a motorcycle.
Yes.
So she, yeah, of course. And that was a mock-up for a t-shirt. She's been like gone in a different direction musically and kind of visually, but she's still putting out music, which is amazing. Her voice is from the goddess. That was for her second single, Blind Line. Keep going. And I for the video I had Stormer's guitar that we did a custom wrap on, and that's kind of like very graffiti, Steven Sprouse kind of friends, and just flying around on a star. It's very jump inspired. But yeah, so this is the house that Justin and I share. It's crazy that I
Go on.
and because Starlight mentioned depending on the song, it's very different. I was watching Music Awards this one day, and all of that came and was like, I know. Listen, we own it. I just live there. Let's keep going. We're full. gem collection over the years in different various places that I've lived. That on the right is when my apartment in New York was featured on Apartment Therapy, which is like an interior design website. Those on the left were Vogue last year, featured my apartment, so like that coincided with the bargaining weeks. I tell so like.
Yeah, that's the
So those were photos of Vogue. Keep moving. That's some other, that's my little dining area now, that's my two jet posters and these, the different, that was the house I lived in LA, we moved into Stroud, which we love affectionately called the tram show. Obviously I'm trans and Justin is gender non-conforming, so can't live in a mansion. You're putting it down to 2 seconds, man.
It's been absolutely amazing. I thank you so much. And the left with I was I guess was with Joel.